and welcome to the Artist Behind the Music Nashville series. Today we have Jamie Floyd joining us from Nashville. Welcome to the show.
Yes, hello. Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
great. I'm so excited to have you here. And you've just got so many amazing things going on with your own music and with songwriting and with what you do for your song therapy. It's just excited to dive into all of that and kind of hear more about the background of how did you get to this point today. So maybe we'll go back a little ways and talk about your journey into starting into the songwriting and performing artist world.
Yeah. So I got a very early start in the music business. I had, as a kid, as an 11-year-old, I signed a record deal with Sony out of New York with Epic Records, and
At 11.
yeah, it was an early start. But my parents are musicians, so I grew up from 2 years old, like teeny tiny, singing with them on stage. So it was natural that you just went into the business at 11 and you signed deals and just did it. It felt like the next natural thing to do. But so I got my start there, and I worked hard on music, and I learned how to write songs. I didn't consider myself a songwriter at all at 11 years old. But I was really lucky at that early age, to get put in the room with incredible people I had no business being in a writing room with, just like Grammy-nominated incredible people and writers who wrote songs I grew up listening to, and I was very lucky to be exposed to that at such a young age. And I started writing when at that time, and I remember Greg Barnhill was the very first co-write I ever had. He and Jim D'Addario, who wrote like Amy Grant's House of Love and all these amazing songs, all the Trish Yearwood songs I ever loved and everything. And I remember Greg coming out and telling my mom, she's a songwriter. And we were both like, what's a songwriter? Like, we had no idea. Like, I just had my journals and my ideas, and so I was lucky to get an early start. I never set out to be a songwriter, which is kind of funny. I was always a singer, and I always wanted to be a storyteller. And that storytelling, I guess, weaved its way into songwriting. Just kind of meant to be. But I got my start there, and I was touring also in Florida. I'm from West Palm Beach, Florida, originally, South Florida, and so I was touring like 150 dates a year in Florida as a teenager, and then September 11th happened in 2001, and just like it stopped the whole world, it stopped our world too, for sure. And my record deal ended about a year later, just because they wanted me to be in pop music, and they actually offered me a pop record deal, which I turned down, because I just, even at that age, at 15, 16, when I was offered the next record deal, I just couldn't pretend to be something I wasn't. And of course, my family, everybody thought I was crazy. Like, what are you turning down a record deal? Are you crazy? And obviously, it was a big, powerful record label, but I just, for whatever reason, knew that it wasn't right for me. So I turned that record deal down, and I graduated high school a year early, and I saved up for a year to move to Nashville. I worked in a little cafe and in Florida, and I moved myself here right when I was turning 18. Went to Belmont, met Brothers Osborne, met Chris Young, and all friends of mine to this day, at Belmont, and then I couldn't afford it after about a year and a half, as a lot of us run into that. But it was such a great kind of jumping off point, and I dropped out to be a songwriter, and I moved to Nashville having just come out of what everybody moves to Nashville to get. So it was really weird to move here after feeling like you were at the top, if that makes sense. Like, I certainly didn't have any success as an artist or anything yet, but I was surrounded by all these like big record label people and all these like, famous like people in the music business as a kid. And then I just come here, and starting over at 17 years old is a really weird thing to do. Yeah, it was, but it really, it gave me this fire, that I felt like, well, I'm gonna show them that I should have that back, that I should, that I deserve it again, and that lightning should strike twice for me. And so so I met all those wonderful people at Belmont, like I said, and then dropped out to wait tables and write songs, which is a rite of passage here, I think.
The Nashville way.
If you haven't done that, you really, you
Not
need to
living.
before you can make anything happen. I'm just here to tell you. Or at least I feel like the all those years waiting tables, because if you really add it up, I waited tables all the way up into the beginning of this year, or the beginning of 2020, just on and off and in and out of publishing deals and in and out of other record deals. But my start, is dropping out, waiting tables, and I really learned how to write songs in those years. And I was really lucky to write with writers that slowly I got to, write with writers who wrote the songs that made me want to move here, and so that was the real college. I'll tell you what, I might have dropped out of Belmont, but I got my real education shortly thereafter.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, I get that. I have a similar story. I dropped out of uni and to record my first album. So very similar in that sense. It's like you have to go after what you want. And sometimes it's in a different way than maybe you intended it to be.
Right. Well, not sometimes, all the time, circumstances that seem really dismal and that seem like a dead end, or that seem like you have walls being put up around your desires or your career or whatever, those circumstances actually end up pointing you in the right direction. And I definitely, there were years where I felt like I was a victim of my circumstances, but then, like, as you get older and you start to be able to have like years to look back on, you start to see why things didn't happen so that other things could happen. And so I really changed my mindset. And of course you grow up too, you get more mature. You start to see things for what they really are. And as I did some growing up, I realized that I wasn't a victim of my circumstances, but that I was a beneficiary of them. And Nashville, man, really, really, kicked me down. And it's that saying, fall down, let's say fall down 10 times, get up 11 kind of thing. I know that's wrong.
I know what you mean.
That's the idea. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That you, if you never give up,
there's no option.
There's always something coming for you, and my life and my career so far is certainly an example of that. And to just kind of fast forward you, I guess dropped out to write songs, started making things happen, and I got my first big cut when I was 23, 24, on Ronnie Dunn's debut solo album. After he left Brooks and Dunn, he wanted to be a solo artist. And so that was my first very big cut. And it was really exciting because that was right around the time in country music when things were starting to shift. Of course, you have incredible artists, songwriters that are both, but just in the last few decades, people like Garth Brooks or Trisha Yearwood or any of the people I looked up to, not all of them wrote all of their songs, if that makes sense. So that started to take a turn as the industry changed. A lot more writers started writing their own songs, and so it was harder to get
in.
And so it was really special for me to have my first big cut as a songwriter be not something we wrote with Ronnie Dunn. So it just proved like, okay, if you can just really focus on making the song the best thing it can be, it can open all the doors that are supposed to stay closed, And as I focused on that, I still wanted to be an artist, and that wasn't happening in the way that I imagined, the next big record deal and all the hoopla that goes with that. But what did happen is that my songwriting career started to take off, and I just thought, okay, maybe this will allow me to be an artist on the level that I've dreamed of, in just a different way to get there. And that's pretty much what happened. As I was still waiting tables, still writing songs, I got other publishing deals and got other opportunities. And really my career started to just go on an upward trajectory that just hasn't, knock on wood.
I'll knock for you.
But back in 2013, I had been dropped, you know, from a publishing deal, and I was just really down, like, man, like, what do I have to do, you know? And at that point, I've been trying for so long, you know, when you're starting in 1996 and you get to 2013, you're like, man, I've been doing this for a while, you know? And, but I had something happen that year. I'd been just dropped out of my publishing deal. And about 2 months later, I wrote a song called The Blade. And it like really kind of got passed around Nashville, and a couple other artists cut it and it didn't come out. And then Ashley Monroe recorded it for her sophomore album, and she recorded it as a duet with Miranda Lambert, and Vince Gill played guitar on it and produced it, and it got nominated for a Grammy. And I found that out while I was that the album got nominated, and our song is the title track. And again, it was the only song on the album that Ashley didn't write. And, you know, we all, like, she's a hit songwriter herself, but ours happened to be the only song she didn't write. So I started to get this, like, or I wanted to build up this reputation, like, I write the outside songs, you know, that the artist didn't write, but I somehow, you know, found my way in there. And so that same year, I got to be a part of, or I got asked, sorry, I'm just making sure this is chronological. So 2013, we write the song, and then it ends up coming out and being recorded by Ashley Monroe and Miranda Lambert in 2015 and 16.
Yep.
And that was really what started to launch things for me. I got to be in this like documentary. I started lobbying in Washington for our rights as songwriters with NSAI here. And because of that, I got to be in this documentary with Garth Brooks and Jason Isbell and all these people, Emily Lou Harris, that I look up to. And I started writing for all these movies, and I just, like, all these things opened up for me. And this was all the while I had no traditional structure of a publishing deal or a team or financial help or investors or any of that. So it was really special to kind of prove to myself that that didn't matter. That as long as I was focusing on doing my best and putting my heart and the truth into these songs, that they would open the doors, and I didn't need anything else other than the songs, you know? And so that kind of brings us to modern day. These past like 2 years, even with what we've all gone through with these quarantines and the craziness of this world and our circumstances, these last couple years have just totally launched my career, not only as songwriter, but as an artist. I kind of got a really big opportunity. Shania Twain asked me to be on this reality show that she had created called Real Country, and I got to perform on national television for the first time. And they had me perform The Blade that had gotten nominated for the Grammy and everything. So that song continued to open doors for me. And so I get on this national stage with Shania and Jake Owen and Travis Tritt and all these people I look up to, and no pressure, right? And
done.
yeah. And I make it to the finale of the show, and as a result of that show, I got paired with a really wonderful booking agent. And so I was able to start touring full time, you know, as an artist, and with everything that was going on with that. And it allowed me to do that. And then, of course, in 2020, it was the first time that I had like 80 plus show dates booked, all canceled. My first time fully on tour, completely canceled. But I, you
For
know,
something else to happen.
right. And we all, I mean, obviously I'm not the only one that happened to. It just happened to be my first full-time year of touring. But I had Kesha's last single come out, and like last year to kick off 2020, we get the call that Kesha had recorded a song that I had written with my dear friends Maddie Diaz and Wrabel, and it was her and Sturgill Simpson and Brian Wilson of the Beach Boys and Wrabel all in this one song. And like, so I've been really lucky in the past few years to have people that, like, absolutely legendary artists outside of country music, you know, come and record songs I've been a part of. And so that's kind of been my new MO. Like I just have gotten the chance to write for artists in all genres and in movies and TV that I never set out to do, and but that these opportunities have come to me. And then to almost wrap this up,
No, I love it.
while I was filming the show with Shania Twain, I got asked to write all of the songs for a brand new musical that's in development for Broadway out of New York.
Fun.
Well, and so so I took that on too, and that project is called The King's Wife. The musical is called The King's Wife, and we have some really exciting, like there's a really prestigious theater in New York City called Playwrights Horizons, and they have kind of gotten behind us for this year, and I'm new to the Broadway world, but from what I understand, that's like a huge deal to happen for your project, and so I'm excited about that. And then most recently, I as an artist, I got to play the Grand Ole Opry for the first time a few months ago, and I opened for Metallica on the Grand Ole Opry, and you know what, you know how you and I were talking about before we jumped on here, how just you know, just focusing on things that are inspiring and that have inspired us in our lives, and maybe, you know, I can offer something that would help, you know, people, anyone in our shoes, you know, keep their hope alive. Is that years ago I had someone in the music business tell me I would never play the Grand Ole Opry, and I remember crying my eyes out that night, and being really hurt by that and really discouraged, because that was my ultimate stage. Of course, if you're in country music,
Oh yeah, that's
destination. And so I remember being told that wouldn't happen for me, and when I got the call to play the Opry, it was in the middle of this pandemic, right? And they told us I got to do it with this wonderful organization called Operation Song that helps rehabilitate, or sorry, that helps like with the healing process of soldiers and veterans who have fought for our country. And because of them, I got to have this, you know, Opry performance with them, and we found out. So this is just speaks to the fact that things don't work out like you want them to, but then they work out even greater. So I went from being told I would never play the Opry years ago to being on the Grand Ole Opry and having our segment taped to open for Metallica in 300 cities across North America. And so not only, you know, and it was really special too, because you think, man, you want to walk on the Opry stage and of course feel all the history that came before you, but feed off the audience, you know, like we want an audience, obviously, people. And the Opry house was empty, you know, because of the pandemic, and it was almost that much more special to get to stand in the empty Opry house, all lit up, all everything, and just take it in. It makes me want to cry right now talking about it, but
I feel that. like it's a big energy.
Mm-hmm. But it to get to stand on that stage and have that dream come true right in front of your eyes, and to be able to just like soak it in, just you and the history, was such a powerful moment that I would never have gotten if I had, you know, been on the Opry the normal way. You know, and yeah, and so having that experience like just was so beautiful, and so much on a grander, huge scale than I could ever imagine, you know. And I had waited on Metallica a year before.
Oh, I love it. That's even better.
On Metallica a year before when they played in Nashville, and then I end up opening for them a year later on.
Oh, I love it. That is, you know, a hope alive story.
I hope for anyone who is an independent artist, an independent songwriter, just independent in the music business in general. I think, you know, we're conditioned to believe that you need certain things in place to be successful and to reach your goals. And I am just living proof that that's not the case, you know, and that there are other ways to make it happen, you know, outside of what the narrative is that kind of we're given to believe. And so yeah, speaking to that, I started song therapy, by the way. That's why I started.
Yes, that was one of my questions for you. Yeah.
I created this company called Song Therapy, that, you know, for years I've been mentoring songwriters, and I've had just people come to me and go, how did you do this? Like, what is happening, you know? And I
Like,
kind of found, yeah, I kind of found that, and I worked doing song mentoring and song critiquing with NSAI and too over the years, and I just kind of had a knack for that, and I was able to just help people and be another ear on your songs, you know, and people did that for me coming up too, and I certainly am not the you know, I'm not the final authority, but I'm so happy to share my experience with other writers. And if I can help them improve their songs and learn from the mistakes that I made so they don't have to make them as, then great. You know what I mean? And so I started song therapy, which basically allows me to connect with people all over the world, songwriters and people in the music business all over the world, and to help them, to mentor them, to help them with song critiques, and to be a sounding board, and to give them a perspective from someone who has figured out, you know, how to make it happen kind of against every odd possible. and and it just really is fulfilling, and it's something that obviously I have more time to do, not being on the road as much. And so I was like, okay, now's the time to do it. And actually one of my students, one of my just someone that I've helped over the years, he helped me create, you know, all the branding and stuff, which is really sweet. And he was like, you should be doing this, and I'm going to help you, you know, lay out the business, which was really kind. And so just I've had, you know, a lot of just fateful things happen along the way, and that kind of leads us to today, which is um, I've, again, as an independent songwriter and publisher, this week Kelly Clarkson announced that for everybody to get ready for her new collaboration with an artist named Jake Hoot, who's amazing. He won The Voice season 17. He was on Kelly's team, and he and Kelly recorded a song that I co-wrote with Jake and our friend Dean Sams of Lone Star. He's one of the founding members of Lone Star, and the three of us, Jake, me, and Dean, wrote this song called "I Would Have Loved You" last year, a year ago this month, and Jake played it for Kelly, and she loved it and decided to record it with him. And it's his lead single off of his debut album called "Love Out of Time" that comes out on January 27th. So I don't know when everyone will see this, but if it's after January 27th, then you all can pick up a copy of Jake's debut EP, "Love Out of Time," which has our song on it. That's track number 5, his duet with Kelly Clarkson. So,
that's so exciting. It
yeah.
sounds like a great song. I've only got to hear a little clip of it, but my goodness, I can't wait to hear the whole thing.
Oh yeah, I'll actually play it for you today if you want. And
Amazing. I
yeah,
would love that. I would love that.
yeah, it's been like I'm so excited for everybody to hear it, and on top of it, they recorded a video, and just the drama, the music video is like, oh, you know, it's so crazy to see, and in such a short time, like that's, as you know, like it's a super short turnaround to write a song in a year and have it come out like literally to the day. A
Yeah.
year later is a really fast turnaround. So it's just another testament to that. That if you really can put all your magic into your songs um, and just work really hard, that someday Kelly Clarkson might record it. You know, like,
You never know, right?
yeah,
I think
yeah,
that's the biggest thing, and one of the biggest challenges people have is the word no stops people from moving forward. And it's just, you know, every no, I say this all the time, and it's just like every no is one no closer to a yes. And it's just, what kind of tools did you use to push through all the no's and to overcome those obstacles? Do you have any tips besides just keep going, or any
yeah.
tools or tricks that you like to pull out of the toolbox?
Yes. Well, I I really I'm really a, a big believe you have to become a big believer in yourself regardless of who's on board with you. And I used to think that for some reason I didn't deserve to give myself, you know, the belief in myself unless I had a crowd with me. And as soon as I realized that giving that to myself, even if I was the only one, was enough. When I realized that that was enough, my whole life started to change. And so I guess that's a roundabout way of saying that, that if you're pursuing, no matter what it is you're pursuing, but we personally happen to be pursuing somewhat of an impossible dream, right? The world will tell you that. And but I just go back. What really helps me is to go, okay, it's one of my favorite quotes that says, you didn't come this far to only go this far, you know? And so some of my tricks are being okay if I'm the only one who believes in me at the moment, and realizing that is greater than if I had a whole crowd of team around me, that I am enough, that I am enough as a writer, as an artist, and also as a believer in myself. And to also really stay true to what really helped me and what continued to open doors for me is when I stopped listening to what I should do. Because people, again, I heard this recently too, just like the people love to should on you. You should do this, you should do this, you should do this. Don't let them should on you. And so when I stopped listening to the shoulds and I just started using my intuition and my own instincts, that the doors opened so much more easily. And I would just say, tune out everything but the voice inside you that is telling you you can do this, because there's so much truth to that. And even if you can't see or understand why that's true yet, to follow that is the best thing you could possibly do. And just keep going, like keep playing your shows, keep putting yourself out there. I think so much of the rejection makes you want to recoil, and it makes you want to just keep to yourself. And I think that's the worst thing you can do. I think in the face of rejection, the best thing you can do is continue to put yourself out there, continue to showcase your work, no matter what that is, continue to be proud and excited about what you're doing, and humble too, and combine all those things together, and use whatever that fuel of the rejection is to push you forward, and to not go hide, and to not question yourself, and to not let any of the naysayers or the rejection for 1 second stop you from taking another step forward.
I love that. I love all of that. I'm a big believer in all of the ABC. It's so important.
Exactly, yeah.
The ABCs of resilience. So good. Well, I would love to hear a song if you're ready.
Sure. Yes. I'm ready. Okay. Let me just make sure we're ready.
Yeah.
I will play you. Why not? I'll play you the Jay Coote and Kelly Clarkson duet that hopefully you won't be able to escape it in the next several months. I hope all of you are sick of this song sooner than later,
I'm with you on that.
Yeah, so I'm hoping that you hear this everywhere, and again, that you get a chance to stream it and all the things. So yeah, so I'm obviously not singing this as a duet, but it is a duet. But I'm gonna do my best Kelly Clarkson and Jay Coote impersonation right now.
Amazing.
This is called I Would Have Loved You. You gave me every reason to feel like this. Now there's nothing you can do to change. You know me better than anyone else, and how far I'm willing to take it. I never meant it more than I do now. There's only one way I can say it. More than forever, always madly, the deepest unforgettable. With all that I am, with my heart wide open, and the rest of my life I promise you, and You gave one night to some nobody after I gave you all of me. You should have known when it comes to me, nothing's ever temporary. I never meant it more than I do now. There's only one way I can say it. More than forever, always madly. The deepest unforgettable. Thought I am with my heart wide open. For the rest of my life, I promise you that I'm gonna hate you as long and as much as I would love you. And I would have loved you. I would have been always there for you, cared for you. I swear it's true. More than forever, always madly, the deepest unforgettable. With all that I am, with my heart wide open, for the rest of my life, I promise you that I'm gonna hate you as long and as much. That I'm gonna hate you as long and as much as I would love you. And I wanna love you, wanna love you, wanna love you. I wanna love you.
So good. What a beautiful song.
Thank you. But just by the way, when you hear the recording, they do this whole like giant improv in the end, and I kind of faked through a little bit of that, so you get a little bit of the feel of it, but you'll have to hear them like, go for it at the end.
But you know what's so cool to hear it stripped down from the songwriter. It's just such a cool reminder to listeners and fans of music that there's so much more than behind a song than just what you hear on the radio, right? There's so many steps behind it, and it all just starts with this. And I just think it's so fun to be able to share that story. And your stories have been great today too, very inspiring and uplifting. And I just am excited for people to hear it, to be inspired, and to let the hope live on. So good.
Yeah, you're so sweet, and I just I really appreciate you inviting me and putting stories out there in your story and just giving us a chance to chat about all that. It means a lot, and I hope everybody takes some inspiration from it. So.
Absolutely. Well, I'd love to hear another song if you have
Yeah.
one more for us.
Let's see. I'll do another song that we talked about for a second, just life changing. I always end up playing this one, just because it's so much a part of my history now and the reason I'm where I am. I'm gonna play you. Let's see. I'll play you my song called "The Blade," and so this is a song recorded by Ashley Monroe and Miranda Lambert, and I put out a version too, just because it's my story, and you know what I mean. It's I love singing it.
Beautiful
and,
song.
Yeah, so this is called "The Blade." Let your love in. I have the scar. I felt the razor against my heart. I thought we were both in all the way, but you caught it by the handle, and I caught it by the blade. You said goodbye is not the end, and if you need me, I'm still your friend. Well, that's easy for you to say, 'cause you caught it by the handle, when you love and you give it all you've got to give. Oh, knowing all along there's a chance you'll reach and they won't. You'll bleed and they don't. For you it's over, for me it's not. I kept trying and you just stopped. Now I know how you can sound so brave. You caught it by the hand, oh babe, and I caught it by the blade. That's the risk you run when you love, and you give it all you've got to give. Oh, knowing all along there's a chance you'll reach and they won't. You bleed and they don't. I thought we were both in all the way. You caught it by the handle and I caught it by the blade. That's the blade. You're so
Oh,
sweet. Thank you.
such a beautiful song, and your voice is just soul filling. It's so rich with tone and got nice power in it. It's beautiful.
Well, thank you. That means a lot coming from you. I appreciate
Oh,
it.
well, thank you for being here. It's been so great hearing your stories, like I was saying earlier, just full of inspiration and hope. And we just all need that, whatever you do in life and whatever stage you're at in life. It's just something that we continuously need to be reminded of, right? To keep going and to have those ABCs.
Absolutely. And yeah, I so appreciate getting to chat with you today and thank you for listening. And yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you. I always end with the question, if you had one message to share with the world, what would it be?
Ooh. It would be that that it would be to appreciate and live in the present moment always. To always appreciate it to its absolute fullest.
I love that. That's perfect. Beautiful note to end on. Thank you again so much for joining me on The Artist Behind the Music.